Intergenerational trauma, the most common generational effect that happens from residential schools. To actually define this type of trauma, it would be the intergenerational and unconscious grief from the historical trauma experienced by Indigenous peoples. It is passed from generation to generation to generation. Sometimes the cycle never stops. Residential schools started in 1831. That was 193 years ago, and these schools finally ended in 1996. Only 28 years ago. The students in these schools were abused mentally, physically, sexually, and spiritually. They were stripped of their culture and language until they were completely assimilated into the European ways. There are approximately 6,000 children that died from residential schools, from things like starving, abuse, diseases, and intended murder. And the ones who survived, they received a lifetime of trauma, never to be recovered from. But where does the trauma go? It doesn't just disappear. No, it's carried on for generations to come. Things like alcohol, substance use, mental health, or PTSD can be passed on to the residential students' children, and then their children, and then their children, and then it goes on forever. Unless somebody breaks the cycle, somebody puts a stop to the trend, somebody ends it. Though the trauma will always be there and in the family, someone can physically stop it. Intergenerational trauma comes in many forms, but every Indigenous person and family with it shares one thing in common: residential schools. Residential schools are the root of all this, the reason so many children suffered, the reason intergenerational trauma even exists. To this day, people still have the trauma that once came from their families in the school. And if nothing is done, this trauma cycle will never end. To learn more about Indigenous trauma, here are some great websites to gain more information. Take a step for a better future and help the people that were first on the land we call home. Thank you.